This is a Santa Clara work meeting. I'm Mayor Rick Rosenberg. We have present at full council tonight, Councilman Ben Shakespeare, Councilwoman Lena Mathis, Councilman Jarrett Waite, Councilman Denny Drake, and Councilman Wendell Gubler. Thank those guys for being here, and also thank the audience for being here. Appreciate your attendance tonight. We'll go ahead and go right into the working agenda since it is a work meeting. Under item 2A1, quarterly financials presented by Debbie Bannon.
Looks a little different. Just let me know if you have any questions. But so on this sheet that's up, can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Pull it up.
So official.
No
Okay.
whispering, Debbie.
Okay, on the sheet that you can see up on your screen or in front of you, it's last year's second quarter versus this year's second quarter. So, and then I've changed the budget to be 3 months worth rather than the full year. So it gives a little better comparison. As you can see, we are doing pretty well in our taxes collections this year, like Brock mentioned earlier. The difference on miscellaneous, why you see that big negative, it's because last year we received the money for the Chapel Street corridor, something like that.
Yeah, with the cog.
So that was 547,000 that hit there. And then Arrowhead Trail for 13,000. And then our bank card rebate last year hit that month and it was big. It was 10,000. So this year you see the negative amount because there was a reclass. The UAMPS VAO payments were going there. And so we reclassed them out of there because that's not what they were supposed to go to the miscellaneous power,
Yep, and power.
not general fund. So that's why that has a negative amount in there. And then, are you viewing what I'm viewing up here?
Mhm.
Is that what you're seeing on your? Okay. I just didn't know. So on administration, why the last year was so much bigger than this year is because there was a bond payment in there. So that's the variance there. And then parks and trails. They had the sport court expense of 100K last year versus this year. So that's the variance there. And viewing that, we're doing pretty well on all the others. I mean, we're up on most of them, but any questions? Of course, fire EMS, we're up a little bit. Swiss days, of course, that's a given as far as the variance. Well, given for me. Any questions on this page? Okay. The next page. So I changed the percentage on mine and it didn't get updated on here, but it's the same concept on the percent earned. It's just viewing differently. I should have left it the way it was. So taxes right now, we are over 138% of what we budgeted. That just says we're 39% above what we budgeted. So you can see we're doing very well as far as what we budgeted versus what we have and versus last year. Overall, we're up 28% over last year. Sorry, we're in line what we were with last year for actuals. That doesn't make sense. Well, taxes, yeah, we're up. Looks like Swiss days were down. So 28% above what we budgeted. And then expenditures, you can see we are 10% lower than we were last year due to budget cuts, I'm sure. And then we are, we're under budget on expenditures by 12%. I didn't have anything specific noted on that.
On the expenditures, is this, obviously this is with our change we just approved, that'll get back to where we're at, won't it, Brock? We're
So-
12% under on expenditures.
That will take, this is just through December 31st. So we didn't do our budget amendment until in this, what'll be, well, third quarter, first quarter of calendar year. So that isn't in this, doesn't take into account that budget amendment of those additional expenditures that we approved. So perfect.
So the first spreadsheet was just quarter to quarter reflection last year, same time this year, for second quarter. This is for year to date, meaning last year to date to this year to date. And like you said, the budget amendments were done later, so. Any questions on that? Sorry, before I move on. I get a little scroll happy, so please let me know if I'm a little spastic is a better way to put it. A little spastic. Okay, on the revenue on the impact fees, you can see that we have 135% collected as far as compared to budget. And then expenditures, we are 64% under budget. So we're doing very well. And that is for the impact fees. All the building, I would assume. And then this is revenue for Q2, just another way to look at it. And so same thing, we're doing very well with the taxes. We're getting much more than we anticipated. And we're 147% above what we budgeted. Again, the negative is that reclass from the first page that I mentioned. So a pretty little chart. And then this is going to be the expenses, same thing, just a different view to show it in the pie chart. And we are 83% expenses compared to budget. So we are under, that's nice. Again, if I'm going too fast, please let me know. Here's the water fund. We're up on revenue and we're doing very well on expenditures as far as compared to budget. Here's the comparison 4 years running.
This is where they reclassified the payment to UAMs.
Thought you said no whispering. Do you have any questions?
Go back to your Q2 revenue.
On the water?
No,
Oh,
general
here.
fund. He was asking me about the 14,000 negative on miscellaneous from Q2. That was the UAMPS reclassification, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's from the agreement we have with UAMPS to do work at the Vail waste heat plant. We have a contract with them that they pay us to do the maintenance and then we just bill them. And so
Is it
like this got
8,900?
received instead of being receipted in under power to cover our expenses there, it got receipted into the general fund. So
But we haven't been paid by UAMP. Is that why it's showing a negative?
no, we have been paid by UAMPS. It just got receipted into the general fund and we had to make a journal entry just moving those, saying those funds should have gone over into, receipted into power instead of the general fund.
Yeah, we bill them 5,900 a month and it just was putting it in the right fund. So water, said we're doing good. And there's the 4-year comparison. We're much higher in revenue. That I don't know why we're so much higher compared to the other years, but I have no idea. That's good. It's better than the expenses being higher, right? The sewer fund, we are revenue 109% compared to budget. And again, this is 6-month budget compared to 6-month expenses. And then we are higher though in the expenditures on the sewer. We're not that much higher, but we are higher. And there again is your 4-year comparison. Electric fund doing quite well in the revenue, or 36 or 136 compared to budget. Expenses are up a little bit. That's because all the building, I would assume. That's still not too bad. There's our comparison for the 4 years.
Are there any caps that can be retained for those funds?
Caps?
Caps?
Like the fund balance, how much
Yeah.
total you can have,
No, not in
not
those
the,
funds.
where in the enterprise funds.
Okay.
They're like basically like a business, so
Mm-hmm.
it's whatever they want.
Yeah, the most part, you're retaining your fund balance is really for two purposes. A lot is for projects, capital projects that are not impact fee eligible, trying to reduce your need to go to bonds so you can do pay as you go. And also there's renewal and replacement. So when that infrastructure goes out, which is a lot of what your projects sometimes end up being, is you're taking care of old and aged infrastructure that you didn't have to replace. So that's the main reason why we have a fund balance in those enterprise funds is for those two reasons.
Okay, the stormwater fund. Oops, wrong mouse. We're above budget and below expenditures. 2019, I can't remember if I,
That was the FEMA reimbursement on the
oh, yep,
landslide.
Yep.
yep.
Yeah, which, this is a good sign of stormwater. If you've been through the years, that stormwater has not, and the one that's kind of hasn't looked real great through all the projects, but now we've completed from the Law Pond Detention Basin rebuild to the landslide, getting those completed. Now you can see that we're trending in a better direction.
All right. And then this is just a different view of it. It just is the graph of the revenue for the quarter for the different enterprise funds. And again, we're 123% compared to budget, so that's great. There's the graph. Electric is our bulk of the increase. And then this is expenditures, and we're 89% to budget, so that's good.
What's caused the increase in the sales tax revenue?
The increase in sales tax, I would imagine COVID and people buying, Harmon's is one of our biggest sales tax, just, issuer, distributor.
Do you handle the tax on the vacation timeshare type thing?
I don't handle anything with it. I know that Brock was having Dick Ditsy question it because it seemed like we should be getting more, but it's all just driven by percentages and.
So we do on the vacation rental side, those homes are supposed to be remitting a sales tax and the transient room tax. Our code tells them that they have to be a licensed with the state and have a business license here to do that. We're looking, we periodically go in and try to look and make sure people are paying, but it's hard. And at that point, if we see something that looks odd, which is we saw this last month, the number that came in was a little bit odd because it would have been the time, all the annual, because you have people who pay on an annual basis, some are monthly, some are quarterly. This is December, which this distribution in February would have got everybody. You would have had the monthly annuals and quarterly filers. And the number was just a little bit odd. So really all we can do from here is we see something that's odd is we can go to the state, the tax commission can say, hey, something doesn't look right. Then they can look into it. They're the ones who will actually go, can audit and go and get things in the right place. So that's about the best that.
And the slides
have.
are to come as far as what you'll see the monthly different totals on the taxes.
Get the normal 50% from them that we normally get from places like Harmon's?
No, we do retain 50% that's remitted from the point of sale. So anything that's remitted as a sales tax in Santa Clara that was done here, we would retain 50% of that. Even regardless of what,
If they're charged.
yeah. Regardless of where it came from, if it's a sales tax and we retain 50%.
I know the vacation rentals are pretty well done full most of the year. Do you see any increase in?
Well, let's see if
You go
Debbie, you
down-
have that.
Go down to
those
that
graphs.
slide right there. That's it.
So there's the sales tax, which you can see the sales tax is continually kind of been doing well. As far as the room tax, here in the room tax, they say the February was $9,000 January's distribution was, just under 10, which would have been actually what happened in November. They remitted in December, we get it in January. I just anticipated that 9,000 where you were getting all the quarterly filers, annual filers in there, that number would have been higher. Because any of those who had retained for the entire year or for that quarter, we would have been much higher compared to the January distribution, which was just for November, which is 1 month, and where that number dipped a little bit. Just this was a little bit of a flag that caught me, and so I just had ditzy of having her contact the state and look at some things. There's a lot of things showed in the tax commission file. It just caused some concerns, so we're just looking into it to see, making sure people are hopefully remitting their sales tax, and if not, then we'll let the tax commission try to go and make sure that they are, go and audit them and do what they do, so.
Okay.
But I will say on that note, on the room tax, as you can see, through, if you look at, take it through February, but go back to December and you take off like 18,000, we're a little bit below actually from 55. We got only 55,000 all of last year, and we're at about 55,000 taken off already for this year. So the room tax definitely is trended in a positive direction for us this fiscal year.
It's up quite a bit.
Yeah.
This is way up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see from on the chart, the blue line there, I mean, every month but August has been bigger, been a bit larger remittance than previous year, so.
Brock, are you the one that has that up on the screen?
Yeah,
So if
where do you want me to go?
If you can go just to the water hue, well, yeah.
This one.
That water?
This has all
yeah.
four of
All
the
the impact
enterprise
funds.
funds.
So you can just see the Q2 revenue versus the Q2 expenditures, and then it's the revenue versus expense. It's just a difference of, so we're 1.5. Yeah. So electric again is our big number. All right, so here's the sales tax that he just briefly had up. And you can see that we're already at 1 million and we still have 4 months left to go. So we're trending very well there. The highway tax, same, we're just 14,000 under what we were for year to date last year. We have 4 more months. I don't even know, how does the highway tax, does it come from roads?
Gas.
Purchase of gas.
Gas tax,
Good to know.
PNC road funds.
And then the local option tax, that's the newer one. But it's doing, I mean, it looks like last year versus this year,
Yeah.
February is just barely higher, but
In fact, this tax, when it was originally passed, I believe the estimated for projected revenues for Santa Clara was about 75,000 is what they were projecting, so. We're. a little
where
bit
does
ahead of
this one
there.
come from? Just an additional gas tax?
They
Yeah, it's a quarter cent.
quarter-cent sales tax add-on comes into local option. The cities get that direct.
Good.
Doesn't have to go through the ordinary highway tax.
All right, and then the room tax, like he had up before. And then wrap tax. Again, doing well.
You might have
Then
quite
under-
a bit of money this year, Bradley.
Yeah.
Wrap tax.
And then attached after is the just financials from our accounting software. Do you normally go through that? Okay. So do you have any questions for me that Brock can answer? Someday I'll know all the answers, but. Yeah,
Questions
neither.
for Debbie or Brock, council? We went through a lot of this last week at the
Mhm.
budget
Yeah.
meeting, so. Okay, if there's no questions, thank you, Debbie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
2A2, this is the Goobler West parking lot discussion. Brad?
Overview of the parking lot. Brock, please. Okay. Oh, yeah.
That one?
Yes, thank you. The reason we're here this evening to discuss this is this parking lot was put in as a one-way and it enters from Jacob Drive. And the residents in the neighborhood have had concerns because people are not going one way, they're going both ways through the parking lot. So we discussed this in a work meeting. I believe it was last month, and the council at that time had asked staff to come back with a couple of suggestions or maybe some ideas on what we could do. I know we've discussed it at several council meetings, but so we've got some new ideas. This particular drawing that we have up here installs 2 speed tables. They're 15 feet wide. The tabletop is 8 feet wide, and to slow the traffic down. So instead of speed bumps, this was designed by Jared at Rosenberg and Associates. So essentially what it would do, we would take out 4 parking stalls to reduce the length of the table so we're not going across the entire distance of the asphalt, and put the speed table in the center. And then put curb in on the sides and landscape, and it'll kind of break it up and slow it down a little bit. The bid to have this done includes asphalt removal, landscape, the table and everything. Engineering was $27,000 for this project. The other option that council asked me to bring forward was the idea of a gate to make traffic go one way through there. So I have a bid for a gate. Can you bring up, well, it's hard to see it. This gate is a barrier gate operator. And what we would do is install this at the stop sign at the end of the one-way, or the north end of the one-way, where Tuscany Drive and the parking lot come together. We put do not enter signs. We put multiple signs there, but some residents or people continue to go the wrong way. So council had asked us to come up with a possibility of a gate. So I found this gate online, and the gate works only one way. If you come in from the one way, the gate will open. It has electronic eye on it. It also has LED lights on it, so it's displayed at night. The cost on it isn't significant. I think it's just to have the gate less shipping. It doesn't include shipping. It's $3,500. It's also battery operated, so if the power does go out or we have a power failure, it'll continue to open and close.
Not
I also
solar.
included in the bid an extra, pardon?
Not solar.
It-
Solar?
It does have solar to recharge the battery, but it runs off a 110, 240 volt. So that's one of the concerns we have there. We don't have any power in the vicinity, and we would have to obtain power probably. I talked to Gary from the power department. He said the closest light was up on Tuscany. So we did install that. We'd have to figure out how to get the power to that. So these are the 2 options that the council had asked us to bring in. And
Brad, what do you think the installation cost is going to be on the gate? That's not included in the quote, right?
yeah, that's not included. This is just to order the gate doesn't include shipping or anything. So whatever it would cost to get power from the closest source to there would be the additional expense. I thought we had power between fields 1 and 2 on, if you look on there, but I talked to Gary and he said that between 1 and 2, there's a box where the sidewalk goes in on the north side of the sidewalk, but that's a primary box, so it does not, step down so we can use it. It would require a transformer. But
Jack, any idea what it'd take to get power to the gate? Make it operational?
For a transformer, you're looking at about $3,500, and then wire, you're about probably about $10 a foot, and then another $4. So you're probably about $15 a foot to get the wire and set a transformer. I don't know how far that is. I wasn't. I don't know. How far it is from that transformer to it.
it's the last drive that goes into Tuscany. There's a street light there. That's where Gary said we might be able to hook in. Okay. A drive that goes into the subdivision, not Tuscany Drive itself.
150, 200 feet?
Yeah.
So that $3,500 cost, time you figure the transformer and the power's probably closer to 10 grand,
Yeah, I would say yes.
plus the installation time, just putting it in and getting it working. Do they have to come and hook up the eyes and everything, or is that something that we can do?
It's something we can do. It's part of the gate.
So the gate's probably about half the installation cost.
Yeah, that would be my
Has-
guess.
Has a higher O&M cost
Right.
forward.
Brad, one of the questions I'd have is how reliable are the gates and how long do they last? We have issues with our gate down at the yard. And so just wondering how much maintenance you've got, how long it's going to take you to get parts, those kind of issues.
I don't know the reliability of the gate itself. I did include an extra gate because I figured a few people might drive through it or try to drive through it, after it's first installed, even though it has LED lights and it's at night. But I did include an extra gate on that. But I don't know what the cost of maintenance would be. It's essentially like a garage door opener.
It has a 2-year warranty, I saw.
Yeah.
I'll tell you from experience, we'll be working on that gate every week. Just from other projects, from gates into communities, it'll be weekly, and that won't fall under warranty because it'll be kids hanging on it, people running into it. It'll be weekly.
Jared talked to me a little bit about the tabletops. We'd originally discussed just putting one tabletop in the parking lot, but the way the handicap ramps work in that parking lot opposite the parking, or if you can pull that drawing up, Brad or Brock. You can see the sidewalk coming from the fields out to the parking lot, and that red or that white hatched area, that's all been designed and constructed to provide the handicap accessibility in there. And so if you tried to locate the tabletop too close to that, then you start to mess all of that up. So we put one to the south of it, closer to, the entrance to the parking lot. And then we started wondering if people would do it. So we located 2 of them. You could reduce that larger cost in half, just take one of them out. You just
Well,
have to decide
I
where
was
to
going to
put it.
ask Mayor on that, as it comes closer to the residential community, that's really where we're trying to deter and slow down.
But I wonder if it's enough. I mean, you could try one up there. I guess my point is that you could do one and see how it works before you come in and do the second one. I think to really deter them from cutting through there, I don't know that one of them's going to be enough, especially if it's in an area that they're already going relatively slow in. Locating them here, they're kind of up in the straightaway portion of it where they're probably making making their time up that they're trying to do by cutting through the parking lot. So you're really deterring that. But you could eliminate one of them and locate it and try that and see how it worked. And that'd be about the same price as the gate without the additional maintenance of the gate.
But if you came back to do the second one, your cost would be a lot more because of the mobilization
Sure.
and
You'd have to
the removal and all of that stuff, you know, so
Sure.
your cost for doing two
But
individually is a
those
lot
are,
more.
that's work that the city can do, right?
I was gonna say,
I can't talk for Jack, but I'd say
Jack's-
yes. I'd say yes.
Jack who, Brad?
Jack, who?
Yeah, I have faith in our crew that they could do that.
But I know this, if your guys can do the landscaping.
Yeah, well,
irrigation,
I have valve boxes located on that side already, ready for a
but
landscape.
I know Dustin Cruz could do it. We may have to, work it into their schedule, obviously, but I think that's something they could do. Don't
Yeah.
you agree, Baxter?
Yeah.
And probably cut that cost. That cost is based on a street bid. Taking it to a contractor.
Yeah.
Contingencies in it and the whole shot, so.
Yeah, asphalt removal, all of that, which can be done in-house. Landscape can be done in-house.
I don't recall, at least when the homeowners came in, the neighbors, that speed was an issue because they have the stop sign. So they actually were slowing down to stop at the stop sign. So I don't think speed as much as an issue is just they're concerned that they're always going the wrong way. And I really like the tabletop ideas and the trees adjacent because it will keep them from going around it. The tabletop might be enough, just even with the first one as a deterrent, in my opinion.
That's the hopes that it would deter people from wanting to go that way because they have to stop, go up over, and it's 8 inches tall, so it's not a small
I think
tabletop.
it'll slow them down good. Just, it's modeled after one that,
Dixie Center, maybe?
yeah, I think it's the Dixie Center.
Yeah, that one of the Dixie Center does slow you down for sure. Driven over it several times. And some of the citizens were worried about speed, I remember, or just going through the stop sign, not even stopping at it. I remember hearing that a few times. But yeah, the main concern is just going the wrong way for sure. Well, I'll say, yeah, I mean, if our crews can do most of the work, then I love this design. I think it breaks it up, and I think it would achieve a lot of the goals. It's not going to stop someone that really, really wants to go backwards, but it's going to make it way less convenient for sure.
I worry a little bit losing 4 stalls. I'd be interested in putting the one closest to the community. And then if we need to go back and add it, there's just not a lot of parking there as it is. And
Yeah, we have 192 stalls there, so we'll be at 188
yeah,
on that side.
especially if you're looking
But
to,
that doesn't count pickleball and all the other uses.
Yeah. but I like the design. I think it'll look good, and I think it'll certainly help. Again, you're right. It's probably not going to.
Well, if we did one in-house, then we wouldn't have to worry about the double mobilization and all of those expenses. It would be just, let's do one and see what happens and do one later if we need to.
Yeah, because there's no new pavement. It's all landscaping and concrete. So
Right, just a tack
you're gonna have a
curb.
bunch of mold. Any other comments, council? Directions for Brad?
On construction of that, Mayor, on the detail, are we cutting out some of that asphalt and then pouring the concrete right down flush to it? So we're not tapering it right down to nothing.
No.
Okay, so there will be
No.
some asphalt removed.
You'll have your full thickness of your concrete all the way through.
Okay.
You'll have to remove the asphalt to do it. Yeah, it's not a tack on it, so
I could just picture there where it all tapered down. Here in a year, that's all crumbled up.
it's
And
part of the speed control.
Yeah, so I'd be in favor of 1 or 2, kind of whatever you guys think is best.
Which, if you were doing one instead of 2, which would you prefer, closer to the Jacob Drive on the south end of the parking lot?
Yeah.
I think they accomplish different functions. Because I think the one closest to Tuscany will be a greater deterrent for the one-ways, because it's right as you come into there.
I agree.
And where that's their biggest issue, I kind of like the idea of doing that one first. But that's just me.
Yeah, that might be. And I'm not opposed to both of them. I just, if you feel we have the parking there, I just know in tournaments that seems like a lot of places, but it gets pretty busy up there, so,
Yeah, especially last Saturday. It
yeah.
was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hearing, go ahead and put the one in, have city forces put the one in.
Closest to the stop sign, right? Closest
Yeah,
on the
be
north
one
side.
On the left up there,
North side, okay.
right? That's one you're
I
talking about
think
is the
so.
one on the left.
I think that'll give the biggest deterrent to the one to going the wrong way.
Probably right.
So is it the parking at the pickleball that they're mostly going back the other way?
I don't know 100%, but I do see people coming out of Tuscany, the development there, coming off Tuscany Drive and doing it right. Because I sat there the other day and I just parked in where the stop sign is and turned off my truck and sat and waited and waited for people, and there people would come in there off of Tuscany and then they'd see that I wasn't going anywhere. And then they go all the way around and back and then back out Tuscany just to kind of watch.
I sit there for 2 hours watching ball and stayed in the parking lot to watch the same thing.
Yeah.
I actually only had one that even attempted to come back out and saw me and turned around.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions for me?
Be great.
No, just good work.
Good solution.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bradley.
Thanks, Brad.
Fiber internet to the home. You got some answers?
Hopefully, yeah. I just kind of wanted to explain, just go over a little bit more details on if we're going to go down this road, what that would mean. I actually spoke with Shirlane Quayle yesterday from St. George, and she said that we're actually pretty opportune in bringing this up. They just restarted their discussions with Utopia, and she was actually really curious about how Santa Clara and Ivans feel about continuing or not. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up here, just to kind of get a feel from the council on if we do want to pursue this or not. So I kind of want to just start just real quick with kind of how internet service works in a city and kind of some alternatives. So right now, basically, an internet service provider pays to put a wire in the road or pays for a tower near the city to deliver internet to that home. And so it's basically, I mean, it's kind of funny to think of it this way, but it could be something as simple as it's like asking FedEx or UPS to pave the road to whatever house they want to deliver to. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but that's basically what we're asking the internet service providers to do. If they want to get service to someone, they have to get the wire to them. And sometimes, they charge the customer for that. Sometimes they don't. But what you see all over America is that there's lots of areas that just don't get great service because there's not enough end connections at the end of that wire to make it worth it for the company to put it in. So, and that's kind of what's going on right now in Santa Clara. I know we do have a little bit of fiber in the city. My sister-in-law actually has one of those connections, and then they beam the internet up to the track. That's how the only way they could get really good internet up to the track. So another option that is just starting to happen in the US is something that Ammon, Idaho did. And they actually just set up LIDs, which stands for Local Improvement District, I'm thinking. Kind of like an SID, but for internet service. And so basically, a whole neighborhood can sign up and they can get their 20-year loan to put in the infrastructure for the fiber. It's about $3,000 a connection, they said, in their city to run the wire. So it's a pretty high cost, that upfront cost. And they can pay it over 20 years, but still it's quite a bit. But even at that high cost, they've had a lot of people sign up. And then there's the model that Utopia is proposing for cities like us. You may know that Utopia there was kind of some issues when it first started up north that the cost kind of spiraled out of control and they weren't able to build out as many connections as they said they would, and it just didn't quite work out. And they've actually recently got quite a bit of funding to be able to just finish out everything they said they would do. And then because they have all the know-how and all the equipment and everything, they've offered to provide fiber service to other cities that aren't part of that original group of cities. And so the way it would work, we could have Utopia come and actually give us a presentation, but the main idea is that they put in the infrastructure, whatever the cost is a bond, and the city has to back that bond. But then as long as you have at least 35% of your households use the service, that's enough to cover the bond payment. And so there's a little more nuance to it than that in terms of like the city can tack on a little extra to make sure there's always enough to cover or kind of build up a little bit of a reserve. But basically the idea would be the city puts in the fiber and then we can allow any internet service provider to jump on that. So like right now, if you want to get internet in Santa Clara, either you get it through your cable through TDS, or your satellite goes on your roof from InfoWest, or it comes in on your phone line from CenturyLink. And so this would allow all those same internet service providers to just put their services on that fiber, and then it would basically just even the playing field, basically. Like right now, the cable is the fastest for almost everyone that has it available. Obviously, fiber is faster than that, but that's not very much available in our city. And so then it's just more of a competition with those internet service providers of who has the better customer service, which is notoriously bad for internet service providers, or it's whoever has the best price or has some sort of sign-on bonus. It just basically levels the playing field. So we allow anyone to jump on it and provide that service, and then a citizen can choose whatever provider they want. So it's not like you have to give up your internet service provider. With this, you'd keep them. They would just provide it instead of the cable going into your house, it'd be over the fiber. So I do want to share that I've gotten lots and lots and lots of comments about the internet service in our city, that it's subpar, and we actually have some data to back that up. So if you scroll down in the packet, we did a survey about a year ago, and this was just released to the council back then. It's never been released publicly. And I asked Shirlane Quayle about theirs, what they're going to do with theirs, and they decided to not do another survey. The results were overwhelming enough for them that they didn't feel like there'd be a reason to do another survey. That she said the demand's even higher than it was before with working at home and teleworking and all that. So if we can just go through the slides real quick, we can probably skip a couple, but question one was what type of internet service do you currently have? You can see, and this is just the Santa Clara respondents. We had 214 households respond out of our 2,600-ish, so a little less than 10% of our households responded. But you can see TDS and then CenturyLink and InfoWest. And then question two was telephone service, won't worry about that. Question three, video service, probably don't need to talk about that tonight. Question four, this is a little bit more important, which was we asked how much they pay for their current internet service. And you see the vast majority pay 40 to 60, and then another good chunk pay 61 to 80, and then 81 to 100. So internet service isn't, people are willing to pay for it for sure. And then question five, what's the download speed of your current internet connection? You can see the majority is 51 to 100, and then 26 to 50, and then down to 11 to 25. So again, you can see people want the faster. That's what they're signing up for, the majority of people. And then question six, why did you select the internet service that you currently have? The overwhelming response was it's the best priced option, then reliability, then fastest. And then there's, bundling might help to make it more affordable. Question seven was, and this is kind of the kicker for us. How likely would you recommend your current internet service provider to a friend or colleague? 57% said they would not. 32 were passive, and only 11% said they would. And this is also reflecting what I've heard from individuals. In fact, just a couple of days ago, I was on a Zoom call, and one of the people in the Zoom call, he kept cutting out and it wasn't working very well. And that naturally led into a discussion of, well, what internet provider do you have and why is that happening? And So then kind of some technical things came up, and one of the tricks with cable internet is basically the internet comes into a hub and then gets spread out to everyone in your neighborhood, and you all share that one line going to that hub. And so if everyone gets on at the same time, then everyone's internet slows down. Whereas if you have fiber, everyone gets their own connection. You're not sharing with anyone. So you always get that speed you're promised. So again, this is kind of the kicker, like obviously people aren't very happy with their internet in Santa Clara. And then question 8, would you be supportive of pursuing additional broadband options? And that was an overwhelming 85%. So they would like us to look at other options. Question 9 was basically if we follow utopia model, where the only people actually paying for the infrastructure are the ones that use it. So if you had someone in our city that likes using their cable or likes using their wireless service, they wouldn't be paying for that fiber in front of their home. It would just be paid by those that are actually using it. And there again, we had 78% said they would want us to pursue that. And then question 10 was giving some prices just to kind of see like, would people actually sign up for this? Because it is a little bit more expensive. And I don't know if it'd be that expensive long-term, once the infrastructure was paid for, you could probably take some of that cost out, but we'd have to ask Utopia about that. But, the majority went for the slightly less expensive option, which is $65. But that's for 250 megabits per second download. And it's $60 for 100 right now from other providers in our city. So you'd get a lot faster internet for about the same price. And then you could pay a little bit more and get 10 times the speed of what they're getting now.
And I believe that's 250 up and upload and download, where you're getting like the 250, or like a lot of them, you're getting 250 on the down, but your upload's going to be
like 10 or 20.
much less. Yeah. You're getting it on both sides.
Yeah. But if you add those up, basically the 65 and the 78, you have about 68% said they would sign up with these prices. And again, the question there, do you get at least 35% signed up? We have 68% saying they would. And I will note that, we put this out on our website. I think we put it in the newsletter. So I'm sure people that were very interested in internet did the survey. So you have to take that into account, that there's probably a lot of households that wasn't even on their radar. They didn't take the survey. But Utopia has done these surveys all over, so they could really help us, suss through the data to make sure we'd be okay. It looks like it'd be okay, but we'd probably want a little help on that. And then question 11, if you answer that you wouldn't continue, why was that? And the biggest one was just switching would cost more money. So you can see that the cost is important to our citizens. And then that's all the questions that we need to review. So, obviously this was one of my main goals for this year as a council member, to pursue this. I think, we're just kind of the very starting of it. I just wanted to kind of get the council's feel on if we should continue. It would require that we do an RFP. Shirlane said that they're working on theirs right now, and they would be happy to share that with us, so we could model ours after it. She said we might even consider like doing one RFP for all the cities. I imagine we'd probably want to do our own, but we'd have to just see how that works out. But anyways, are there any questions on kind of how that would work? Or
The system would be owned by the city.
as far as I know, we would own the system. Yeah.
And so we would be the one charging for the hookup?
So as far as I know, Utopia services everything. They do all the customer service for it. They do the internet providers hooking up to the system, and we're not far enough into it that I don't know exactly like who charges who and how we get our cut and how all that works.
Here, let me ask a question too about power. I'm not, so if I have fiber to my home, electricity wise, am I going to use more power?
Nope, it'd be just like what you have now for your internet. It's just a much more efficient way to get internet to your house, basically.
Doesn't increase my cost to the city at all.
No. Yeah, it wouldn't.
Cost will be retiring the bond if we went
Right.
the way of the bond or SSA or something like that would also have a bond. The city would be responsible for that bond payment. We'd have to collect it from residents either in the form of an annual assessment or a monthly fee, a user fee, and the number they were talking before that they could probably make it feasible if we had 35% of the homes hooked up to it. That probably going to vary a little bit based on the area and constructability and the cost to put it in,
Mhm.
how spread out you are, and
Right.
that how the denser the community, probably the cheaper per unit you're going to get. We're fairly on the low density side, so but that was kind of where we left it before. Was it was to jump to that next step and answer those questions.
Hmm.
What it would cost. What's do we know what the service would be for Utopia for their charges?
I sat through a Utopia presentation a couple years ago at the League of Cities and Towns, and I want to say it was like of that 65, like $30 went to Utopia to cover the infrastructure, like the bond payments, and then like $5 went to the city, and then I think the rest went to them. So I guess it's 30 would go to them, 30 go to the payments, and 5 to us.
But
I
the
think
30 is putting in the capital cost of installing the system, or is just their side of it's the 30 and 30?
so. 30 would pay the bond, 30
So
would go
that's
to
the
them.
cost of putting in the
Mhm.
system. Well, that would come to us if we're paying the bond.
Yeah,
I
and
think, I
again-
think they pay the bond. We just are like,
Guarantee it.
We
yeah,
guarantee it. Yeah, that's the
So
correct.
they have the bond and
we just are
Guarantee
guaranteeing that
payment.
payment will be made.
Yeah, that's right.
How does
And
it affect our bond rating as far as what we've got already in place? If we're
That-
guaranteeing another large bond.
Well, I don't know on that, if we're just guaranteeing that the bond may not be in our name, I didn't sit through the presentation to know,
I know,
but I'm going to say it's probably in Utopia takes and does the bond or the loaning on it. They get it. We just,
I
or-
guarantee you your bond
It'll-
yeah.
agent will
yeah,
hit
so
you.
might not
for
affect us at
any
all.
it'll show up on our rating
Mhm.
as though we were the bondee probably,
Yeah,
because we're guaranteeing it.
Hmm.
So it's going to limit.
kind of like guaranteeing a loan.
Yeah,
You know?
it may not be, 1-to-1, but it's going to be on there. But those are questions we can ask
Right.
as part of, taking this forward. We can get answers to those questions.
Jared, you mentioned earlier that they did this up north and they had some problems meeting their projections that they planned on. And just recently you said they received more funding. Where did they get the more funding so that they could finish up what they started?
I just saw that as a headline on Utopia's website that they'd secured like $50 million more to finish up. And they actually have a list on their website of like how many connections are left to connect in all the cities that are part of that original pact. So I'm not sure, to be honest, where they've gotten the money from.
And in this survey, we talked about 35% would be willing to do it.
We would need 35% to cover the bond payment, but we had like 68% said they would do
I
it.
think the way they talked before, if we could get 35%, then they would do it. It's kind of like the recycling thing. If we could get it for 60% sign up, it would be this rate. The rates they were talking about was based on getting at least 35 to sign up, 35% of everybody out there to sign up for it. That's probably changed a little bit now, but those are questions we can ask.
Yeah, and I know, Jack brought up in the budget retreat that condo costs have gone way up. So maybe something we need to wait for a year to actually mobilize and do it, wait for prices to come back down. But that's just something we'd have to ask on.
Jack, do we have any subdivision that have that empty barrel in them now?
Up here in the heights that we did, and then that's been years ago. I just don't know what condition they're in because people cut them off, they fill them up with dirt, they take the tape off. But yeah, there is some.
Are we doing it now?
No,
Because new construction, Doesn't have to put the empty conduit in.
The conduit right now is so expensive that, for 3-inch, we're paying, I think it's $275 a foot. It was up to $375. So I don't know what 2-inch is, but conduit's just outrageous. So it's quite a bit of money to just put it in if you don't have any funds to pay for it.
Yeah, but it's
What
two
does it do?
something a foot beats 12 something a foot if we wait and do it in the future.
Well, that's true, but you got to have the money to buy it, to put it in. And that's kind of where we got at that, back then, as we were, putting out quite a bit of money and going to that expense, and then nobody was using it, and it's just getting ruined.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
does
I-
it do with other providers that we already have in the city if we go into competition with them?
I think we would not be in competition with them. We're just basically providing the road for them to provide the service to their customers.
So if TDS wants to be in on our fiber system, they can put in.
Yeah, we would encourage that. Yeah, we'd encourage InfoWest. I know up north, there's like 8 providers, I think, 8 or so that
They
provide
all
the service.
connect up.
Mhm.
I use the
So-
same highway.
One question, and listen to this. So if there's, let's say it's $65 and 30's for the infrastructure and 5's for the city and 30's for Utopia, where does a TDS and a CenturyLink, where do they come into that picture? So if they can ride on that fiber, I mean, they've,
Yeah, so I think you're right. So maybe the 30 isn't to Utopia, it's to the service provider. Again, I'm not.
again, and I think that's where I'm looking at. I'm like, I'm not, I like the idea. Obviously, high-speed internet, and especially with people able to work from home and run their businesses from home. I just, at some point, everyone's got to get,
Right.
and I'm not so sure as a city, I like competing against companies that have gone out and, put that, but it sounds like they've got that figured out. It'd be interesting to know exactly, okay, if I'm with TDS now and we want to stay with TDS, but have fiber to our home, does that change what I'm paying today? And my short answer is, if I'm paying a little more to get faster speeds, I'd do it in a heartbeat. It only makes our business better. And so,
I think it's probably worth.
Do we know what cities are doing it up north?
Website.
Yeah, it's on their website. And there's been a couple cities like us that have done it in this other way. So I know, when things weren't so great with Utopia up north, they were looking for like other cities to sign on, and the original cities didn't want those new cities to get all the benefits of all the work they'd done at a much cheaper price. And so they worked out this other setup, where basically they'll put it all in, and then we just have to guarantee the bond. I could look it up real quick.
Well, I was just thinking, what if we give Brock an assignment to check on those cities and talk to people within the city to find out whether it really is beneficial or not?
Yeah, I think we can do some more research and look at the cost and find out a little bit more how it works. The other thing, there's been quite a bit of discussion at a state level about expanding internet into rural communities.
Right.
And there's some money out. I don't know if we qualify for it, but if we could, then maybe that could, save the cities or save the residents some money too on that installation cost. They had a committee, a Utah Broadband Committee, that was trying to get broadband into some of the rural areas a few years ago, about maybe a little before this started. That I sat on a committee and we talked a lot about trying to get funding for areas like Big Water. That's what I call a rural community, is somewhere you're out by yourself, and there's not that many of. They were trying to bring in the main lines from like Kanab to Big Water, that big expense that way. Whether they had some to run the internal network around town, it'd just be something we'd have to look into. Is St. George what are they doing right now?
So she told me that right now, just at the staff level, they're working on that RFP, and then they were going to present to their council within like a month, with kind of where they're at, and then they might have Utopia come down and present. And so she just wanted feedback from us if we want to just continue on that road with just kind of looking at the options. And I would love to have Utopia give us a presentation so we really better understand. She just wanted to know, are we in or are we out for proceeding, basically. Yeah, we're not tied to anything right now. It's just, do we want to keep looking into it? So I would love to keep looking into it. I just want to make sure that we're in agreement on that.
Council, you okay continuing some research into it?
Josh, got a comment?
Mayor, if I remember right, it seemed like St. George really wanted us to be in with them because the feed that they need for the fiber is on the west side. And so they were really interested in us doing it on this side to get the feed to them, unless that's changed. I don't know. Do you
I think
remember
you're
that
right. Yeah.
discussion?
Yeah, the one that comes down Santa Clara Drive
Mhm.
was a key element of their infrastructure to make it work. So
We do have 3-inch 3-inch conduit all the way down Santa Clara Drive that's not being used right now. We put it in case we ever take care of or take down this overhead, but it's empty right now.
we still want to take down that overhead though.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, it'd be nice, but it would be a big expense because you've got all the old homes that have got overhead services. So you're probably not ever going to get it down, but if this line ever gets overloaded, we put that in so that we could put a bigger trunk line in.
Well, I guess I could explain too how Utopia would do it. So it's not like they come and do a big trench down each road. They just dig a hole, tunnel underneath, dig another hole. So it's actually pretty minimal, they said, on how much it affects your roads and shutting things down, things like that. They've got a pretty good setup to put it into established communities without disturbing a lot.
Those underground utility contractors speak with forked tongue.
You know better than I do. So.
I do have, if you want the list of cities that are in up there on the screen, that's the maps they say of the cities that are, for the Utopia Fiber website.
I think we stay in the conversation with St. George City, at least to learn a little bit more. And then in the meantime, Brock, maybe you can have somebody on the staff make a few phone calls.
Yep.
Reach
Yeah.
out to your city manager contacts
Okay.
and kind of see what the general feel is, or the Chamber of Commerce, somebody that can give you like an unbiased feedback on.
Yeah, on their servicing though, they have, I believe it's 15. And InfoWest is actually one that services up there on their pricing here. They got 15 and there you have InfoWest provides up there.
Are those what are those prices? Is that the internet price the customer pays?
This right here, yeah, for 250 megabytes, it's saying their internet price is $37, 55 for 1 gig or 200 for 10 gigs. And that's on advanced stream, but you can tell they're all relatively close as being competitive in that mid 30s.
I think I'm paying about $80 right now. I think it's worth exploring. You guys agree? You okay with that?
I think so, yeah.
Do I need to draw you a picture? Any?
Yeah, I want to know what cloud they're storing it in.
I don't believe they will.
You guys okay? Ben?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, council.
Keep
Appreciate
going,
it.
bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll continue as kind of that contact with Shirlane.
Okay.
Um,
If we need to go to meetings, let us know.
sounds great.
Okay, did I see a dog park? Brad? There's a dog park exhibit but there's no agenda item. Is this, you're just kind of influencing us without talking to us or what?
I put it in there just in case the subject came up, in case you did want to talk about it. It's not on the agenda and I didn't do a staff item on it, but Jared had asked about it the last work meeting. So
These are the areas that you're thinking about doing the dog park up in the future Hamlin Parkway right away.
that's, That's the ideal location, but it's only temporary, you know, until the parkway comes in.
You've got 3 on there. Do you do it kind of like a tee box at a golf course? After it gets so used for a while, you move the dog park to the next, let the grass grow back. And
That was the idea. I actually was gonna put 3 in there, and I have one, the
Okay.
first one is like a gravel parking lot, and then the other 3 would be cycle out. If you look at the one over at Firehouse Park, I mean, it's totally, looks like just bare dirt with a few brown spots of grass in it. You know, this would allow the rotation, you know, the areas. It would be a high maintenance area for the city, you know, and I have some concerns about that, you know, the manpower it would take to take care of it.
when I look at the residents that are there, and I'm not so sure I'd love a dog park in my backyard there. So I don't know how far it may be further than it looks, but away from those, but
It's right there.
But it's the same residents that live there that are asking for one.
These people that live in the townhomes.
Because they're the ones that are going over to the city, over to Goobler
Ah.
Park and wanting to walk their dogs over at Goobler Park and having issues with their dogs at Goobler.
Getting citations.
What if we leased them a space inside Hamlin Parkway for their own dog park?
let them take care of it, part of their HOA.
Yeah, just lease them put a year-to-year lease on it. I don't know. It's a long ways from my house.
And that is that Ocotillo to the north of it.
Yeah, Ocotillo to the north, which is a short-term rental, a resort property. And can't remember the name of those townhomes to the south,
Tuscany.
Tuscany. And then Ivans is immediately adjacent on the west, so maybe we can hit Ivans up for some money.
Maybe we could put it on the Ivans side.
Yeah, they've got
Yeah.
that little corridor behind that house is. I'm sure they're gonna love that. Well, if you don't want to talk about it, Brad,
If the council wants me to bring it back for discussion, I can at the next work meeting. Or,
council,
you know, if-
he
if
just
want me
baited
to,
you.
I'm not interested in it.
Lena,
I'm not interested in it.
we're not gonna
Oh.
make you run it.
I'll be the first to say, I figure if you got a dog, you can drive to some open space, and we got a lot of that, but.
I'm okay not having one unless there becomes a really big pent up demand.
Sure.
I'd love to see alternative sites.
Okay.
I think that the cost becomes prohibitive. I just do not see it.
Wendell?
Let's do not do it.
There you go, Brad. Mix that up and take it wherever direction you want. Okay, that's the last thing I have. Do we have staff reports?
We can give some staff reports.
We do some staff reports?
Yeah.
Chief? I hate to make
Mayor?
Chief Flowers come to a meeting and sit there and not say anything.
We got the Fergusons here, and I'm wondering if we're supposed to be talking about
Maybe
this
that's
letter.
what Chief's gonna talk about.
I really don't have much to add, although I will tell you that it's become a little bit of an issue, and we've actually developed an action plan dealing with trailers parked on our streets. We have, like Mayor, you received a call. We went right out. The trailer was gone. But in that, we've been going up and down the streets and noticing.
And are you guys the one that
What?
sent the letter, the email?
Yes.
Okay, great. These are the ones that sent the email that you
Oh,
forwarded to.
Right,
Chief.
right. That email came and it made me start thinking, we have noticed an increase in the trailers that are parking. So we sat and we staffed it last week and come up with a plan that what we're going to do is we're going to start tagging the vehicles. I'm telling you, we're getting a little bit of a chilly response from the people's vehicles we're tagging. We've had some disputes in the streets about those, but we have a lot of folks that are just unloading their trailers and leaving them parked there and leaving them. And so the neighbors are reluctant to complain about it because they want to be good neighbors. But we've decided we're going to tag those. If we don't get an immediate response, we will knock on doors. And if vehicles have expired registrations, we will cite. And if they're not moved, we'll remove them. Especially if we've got somewhere vehicles have been parked for a couple of years. We've tagged them and the neighbors haven't complained too much. And then we also have the folks that play the moving game a little bit, where they'll move it 2 feet, bring it back. We're having some issues with that. They're not violating any law, it's just annoying. So I'm willing to go any direction you want. I'll put those reports on the council. Like, we're gonna check your neighborhood over and over again because we didn't see a trailer. Did it get moved? Because I went out that afternoon and I drove by your house. We went up the street and we saw one kind of up the street. And we tagged that one, but we didn't see the one that, is it still there? Yeah. Yeah, he's correct. There are some, we do take action when we get a complaint, but I think it's become enough issue now that we do need to tag them and do some following up on it. And when citizens complain, we're happy to respond right out. We are now have a log book of the vehicles checked, where the officers will check it on a daily log and go out there. And we have them doing it at night. And then, but we have knocked on a few doors and people are not happy with the fact that they have to move their vehicles. We have one individual that's got 3 construction trailers, and I understand a man's got to make a living. I get that, but you can't park your vehicles on the street and just leave them there for days until you need them. It is a neighborhood thing, not an overwhelming problem, but it is one that we do need to pay some attention to. So we're doing that. And that was based on, and I will report to Brock when I submit my reports on some of the actions we're doing on that. So if you notice anything, let us know.
What's the ordinance? What's the requirement, Bob?
Well, if your trailer is 750 pounds or greater, you need to register it. And if it's not registered, you can't put it on the streets at all. If you park your trailer on the street, it has to be hooked to the power unit. You can't unhook it and leave it. You're not supposed to be able to do that at all.
So an empty trailer, even though it's registered, can't be parked?
It shouldn't be, according to the ordinances and state law. Now, we've not really, if it's been a temporary thing and we watch it, it's there one day and gone, we generally have not worried so much about it. We're starting to see, especially people will come with fifth wheels and unhook the power unit and run water and power to them. You can't do that. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So we're going to be a little more aggressive on that one. And then we're starting to see more commercial vehicles parked in our city streets. And, again, we've tried to be a little bit, but you can't bring a refrigeration unit in and leave it with the refrigeration unit running. And we have been tagging those, and generally they're moved pretty quickly. So I hope that's the direction you want me to go. If you got any other directions, I'm happy to. We're trying to just warm people up to it and be a little more proactive. But like you can't also pull your vehicle in the street. It's got to be in sound mechanical order. You can't park a vehicle in the street that doesn't run. And so we've been kind of dealing with that also. And so that's kind of our response on that. Other than that, everything's going very well. We're actually getting on the traffic a little more. We've run some surveys. So, man, it's murder around here on the weekends. Yeah. And just something I don't want to bring it up, but we're going to have to do something about the market. If this weekend traffic continues with the parking situation, we're going to have to do something there. That's just telling you. I talked to Brock about that. I said I'd probably start bringing it up towards spring. We need to be thinking about that. I think it's I love the store. I shop there, but oh man, getting out of there on a weekend is really dicey. Maybe we can change the parking situation.
They've got that dirt lot now.
Yeah, but that front angle parking is.
Probably got to.
Yeah, and there was a couple times in the last year where we had to put an officer there for traffic control. That's just a temporary fix for that particular day. But we're kind of worried about that. So just so you know, those are just a couple of things that have been brought up to me that I want to make you aware of.
Counselor, with regard to the trailer issue and the complaint, you're okay with the plan that Bob's presented?
I think it's good. Ride them up. Yep.
I didn't know you can't leave something unhooked on the street, so we probably should spread that word in our newsletter and Facebook.
Yeah, I thought about putting an article together, and I've done one before, and we can do it again. And listen, when people complain, we respond right out. We consider it a kind of a quality of life issue in a neighborhood. It's not something that you want to, it's kind of like if you don't take care of it, it's going to get out of control. Where one, you'll see two, then you'll see three, and then you'll see half a dozen. So,
It's a problem. And I think as a city, and I think we can, I lived on Crestview.
mhm,
You're going to school. It's, you have the sun right in your eyes and there's parked trailers right.
yeah,
It's a bigger problem and I do think we need to get out in front of it. I don't think there's anything wrong with us stating that it is for the public safety. It is, really our streets just aren't that wide.
no.
And so when you get a trailer or cars there, I have no problem really pushing the ordinance and really letting people know that, hey, this is a public safety and it's for their liability. I mean, frankly, somebody plows into a trailer and we've got an ordinance that you're not supposed to be there. They could be held liable. I mean, it's just common sense. So
There's a question of widths of trailers also. And when you get two trucks, two trailers, and two vehicles coming in, somebody has to pull over so
Yeah.
that people can go around. And that was one of the things we noticed in your neighborhood. So another thing, boats just being parked on the street. We're going to see that as spring comes, and you can't do that either. You can't leave your boat parked on the city street without the power unit attached to it.
now without leaving the key in it so we can borrow it.
Well, if he says for
it's just-
your use, I'd be happy to put my power unit on it. But
When you say your power unit on a boat, you're talking about your truck.
your truck, yeah. So just report back to you on that.
Chief, when you said you were doing some studies on traffic, are we looking at traffic lights to break up the traffic as it's coming through town somewhere? And
Well, I'm not a big fan of traffic lights, but I will tell you that coming into town, the volumes of traffic and the times, we're kind of like looking at late at night and the speeds and going out of town. A lot of bicyclists too. And so we've been kind of thinking about that. They can only ride two abreast and you're seeing whole, 3 and 4 groups of 50. And for some reason, they think they put a guy back doing this, that's enough. It's not. In some cases, you may need an escort vehicle. So that's been an issue, but I will put those results back to him, but there may come a point where we may have to consider a few of those things in some of our upper areas a little bit.
Get with Chris still. Let's get it on social media and get it in the newsletter.
Okay,
But I
I'll
think
get with
you've
Chris.
got the support of the council as far as enforcing the existing ordinance.
Okay. Well, we're getting after it, and I appreciate the heads up on that. So, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Is it Brad, did you want to add anything to what we've just talked about? Come on up. Just need your name and your address for the minutes.
I'm Brad Ferguson. I live at 1685 Stukey Drive on the Heights. And Rhonda and I are one of those homeowners that have the cable hub in our backyard. And I appreciate you looking at better service because this is one homeowner that has rock bottom customer satisfaction with their internet provider. So any options would be appreciated. I thank you for taking the time, Council and Mr. Mayor, to look at our concerns about trailers and things parked on the street. My initial concern was one of annoyance. And then when I saw children involved, I saw danger. And now we're just trying to avoid tragedy. In addition, I think, we have people walking in the morning and they don't walk on the sidewalk. They walk on the street and they walk around all those vehicles parked in the street. And sometimes it's dark and they're in traffic and it's just another danger to people that are trying to be out walking in the cool night, in the early mornings. Anything we can do, I think, about educating people through the newsletter. We didn't get a newsletter in our bill this time.
It's online now.
So that's a little bit of a concern that there's a lot of residents that don't go online will not get that information.
It's on the back of the bill. If
The
you go,
newsletter.
just turn your bill over and the link to the bill is right
Yeah.
there. Or the link to the newsletter is right there. Yeah, the newsletter now is a lot different than it was before. It used to be the 4-page thing. Now
Yeah.
it's 16, 20 pages, color. It's a lot better newsletter. You just have to go click, and it's on Facebook. Christelle, it's on Facebook and it's on the city website.
Email.
Yeah, if you just sign up, they'll email you a copy of it.
Well, anything you can do to get more awareness about the parking ordinances out. I'm not sure the people that are complacent about it are the ones that'll be actively pursuing a link to find out more information about it. So that's my only
Well, and
concern.
that's something that Chief can, he's going to be making face-to-face contact.
Yeah, and I know,
Most of those.
I appreciate that he's willing to take the heat from homeowners, and I just want him to know, I'd appreciate willingness to do that. And, here's a couple of homeowners where we appreciate that. And we don't like to be the ones calling out our neighbors. And I don't want to be that guy in the HOA in the golf cart driving around pointing out all the violations in the neighborhood. That's why we had ordinances passed so that we could collectively rely on enforcement to take care of those things before they became problems. And that's what we just hope that would continue to happen or start to happen, because it seems like things are getting a little out of hand. So thank you for your
Again,
time.
we appreciate you guys. Did your wife want to add anything? Okay.
Oh, we're good. Thank you.
I didn't never let the husband speak without at least asking the wife. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Thanks, Chief. Let us know how things go. Other Chief, how's the fire station construction?
They've started the sprinkler installation up there, so that's going forward. We should see walls getting built here the next day or two, and then electrical shortly behind that. So we're excited. Things are moving that way, and
you got a guarantee on the roof for this, right?
It's the new roof that was put on. so yeah, we don't want to go through that again. That's about all I've got, unless you have any questions or anything for us. Burn season is open still for general burning, yard debris and things that way, limbs and clippings and stuff.
Jack, did we have a burn pile we needed to get rid of? We were going to talk to Chief
we got
about?
rid of one over at the orchard.
Yeah, got rid of the one at the orchard.
Yeah, we got rid of that.
Thank you.
Is there more now? We got rid of one and there's 3 now. So, okay, we'll look at that. Which property is that?
It's on the Christensen site. Yeah, the old one.
Okay. All right, we'll look at that. Okay. All right. See what we can do. Yeah, Arboretum's coming up to the springtime. We usually get that done. So yeah, we can look at getting some of those burn projects going. We're gonna probably open towards the end of the month for our new seasonal wildland firefighters, the application period. So we typically do that at the end of March, so that they can get interviews and paperwork and stuff done through April, and we bring them on the first part of May.
Chief, going back to burn season, is it started already?
Yeah, started, actually, it never really closed because there was so much stuff in the area, and we had a lot of concerned citizens wanting to burn, so it's.
So we don't do the April and October anymore? Is that
Typically, it starts March 15th.
March 15th.
And goes till about May 15th.
But it's not March 15th yet.
No, but it's already been opened, so just
Okay.
go online, or you can call dispatch, the non-emergency number.
I got a call from a concerned citizen and wanted to burn, and I said, well, I think it's just April and October, so I was misinformed them.
Okay. I think we might have put something into the newsletter this past newsletter to let residents know.
Okay.
And be honest with you, I get like 3 or 4 of them a day, sometimes up to 10 on the weekends. So people are aware of it and they're doing their burning.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Chief Hancy.
Thanks.
Bradley, anything else tonight?
The new church farm that the city has, what's the name for that? I know we talked about it at council. Is it the Tobler Family Farm or?
That was just a name that was
Yeah,
on my list. It hasn't we haven't voted or formally done anything with it yet. I think I was told that the Tobler family had donated it to the city, to the church. And so we kind of wanted to recognize the Tobler family. I had Tobler Family Farm or Tobler Family Community Garden Council.
I like
Cobra Family
family,
Farm, so.
family farm better than community
There
garden.
you go, Tobler Family Farm. I heard 3 yeses right there.
I was going to update the capital facilities plan so we can use impact fees for that. So I was going to add that in there. I just want to make sure I got the name right. And then the river park is Graf. I know it's Graf Park, but do you remember what exactly we wanted to call that park too?
What do you guys want to call the river park?
I know we discussed it, but we never formally gave it an official
We've
name.
called it the Graf
Be like a
Family
river-
Park just because it used to be owned by the
Right.
Grafs.
I had the Graf Family Park, but I just wasn't sure if I missed anything or.
Well, and we could name it something different because they didn't really,
Like that.
it came to us from Pole West. And
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So it
Correct, on the
was
realm subdivision.
purchased from the Grafs and then donated to the city by the Cole West Development Group. So I think there's not a nexus that says we have to name it anything. We could name it, the
Riverwalk Park.
Riverwalk Park. You could name it anything like that. Beaver Dens, Ben's Coyotes.
And shooting range.
And we're gonna pass on the shooting.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of that park, we've got about half of that trail cut through there with the DSU students. So we're from the bridge, we're about, I don't know, 800 or 900 feet in towards where the beaver ponds are. And then I had a smaller class came through and we started on Old Farm and started working to the middle, kind of like they did Zion's Tunnel. And we're in the heavy brush now. So I need another volunteer group to come out and work on that. I've only got one class coming of 12 the next time. So we could get that done. That would be a throughway. And I noticed mountain bikes are already using it and we've got it set up so side by sides and ATVs can't go in there. We've still got the fence up and everything, on the one end, but that's coming along pretty well.
What does the volunteer work entail? What do they do?
They're grubbing and building trails. I mean, they're taking grass, trees, whatever's in the way, stumps, everything and just clearing it out and making a 6-foot wide path and they're lining it with the cut up logs that the ACE crews left.
Is there
So
an age limitation?
No,
So youth could do
if you
it?
can handle a shovel, and,
Okay.
I could use some help just finishing that last 700 or 800 feet that we have,
Okay.
but it's pretty thick.
That
Yeah.
side's
Yeah.
nice up on the west side. To get further east, it gets pretty tough through there.
Yeah, it's amazing how much wildlife is in there. I wouldn't believe it. We were out there working with the group of DSU students and there was like 6 great herrings landing up on top of the tree over in Jim Ence's property. And then there's buzzards, there's deer in there, there's beaver in there, there's, who knows what else? Lots of ducks. Yeah. Coyotes, I'm sure. But there's a lot of wildlife in that little area there.
Can you do it on a Saturday?
Yes. Yeah. That's when we've been working on Saturdays or Tuesday evenings.
Okay.
Yep. Be
I'll
happy.
bring your volunteers.
The council asked us to get electric locks on all the parks, so all the parks are electric locked and we're locking them at 7 PM now at night. Unless there's ball games.
The restrooms and stuff.
Yeah, the restrooms. Yeah, all the restrooms, sorry. So those are programmed at 7 and then we'll extend that once we get our cameras in. And I talked with Kelly Nyberg at InfoS today and she said they're ordering the materials to upgrade our internet so we can handle the cameras. Ryan and our parks crew got the conduit in at Canyon View, so we're ready to string the cables and so we're ready for them, to bring the cameras on. We just waiting for the internet and, for the install, but it's coming. BMX parking lot. I just wanted to talk briefly about that. I talked with the engineer yesterday, and I just wanted you to be aware when we did the design for the parking lot by the pickleball courts and the BMX track on the top there, that we had discussed taking out the old skate park in there and making that a parking area and moving the trail over to the top of the lob pond and then going in and around there with the intent of wanting to build a new skate park down in the Little League area off of Little League Drive. Because, and I'm willing to talk or ask any questions about that, but I just wanted to make you aware of that so you aren't shocked when the plans come in here in a couple of days. But the old skate park's in really poor condition. When it rains, it fills up with water like a pond. We've had to patch it a number of times. We had vandalism there. Earlier this week, they pulled the rails off the skate park, the jump rails they use. So we're having those welded back on, but so that's the plan.
Yeah, I do see a lot of kids there, actually, more than you would think. But
Brock and I discussed over the last couple of years about putting it down at the Little League and making it level with the Little League Drive and the sidewalk there and kind of building it up there. And build it with wrap taxes. That's all I have.
You could create
Get on the
that
skateboard.
on that skate park. You could utilize that grade change from the sidewalk to the parking lot where it'd create a natural ramp without creating a hole in the ground where you're just catching water and debris. And so it actually probably would work really well down there off that.
We were thinking we'd set it up high enough to where if we did get a flood, it wouldn't fill it up with sediment and things like
Out
that.
toward the street side there. Yeah. But it does get a lot of use. I think if we're not going to have it there, we probably ought to look at where we're going. And I haven't looked at the conditions, so.
there's a YouTube video of it, I saw. Somebody came out and reviewed it.
It'll increase our parking capacity substantially to take that area from the substation over to the skate park too. We'll have a lot more parking there, which we'll need when the BMX is going and the ball games are going. It's going to be really congested.
There's not a plaque or a name on the skate park, is there?
CJ Rowley. Does
But
that
is
sound
it
right?
on there?
It's
I know he's the one that.
Rowley,
built it.
CJ Rowley, I think on there.
Fred's boy, Mayor Fred's boy.
Yeah, I mean, it's barely legible, but there's still a plaque
There's
there.
still something there.
If you move it, will that plaque or will it still be an Eagle project for CJ Rowley or will it be?
We could name the new skate park after that person if the council wanted. I mean, the new CJ Rowley.
You put a lot of
Rowley.
effort into it.
They did, got a lot of donations.
It's separating. We've had to go in and cut the concrete quite a number of times because it's on that hillside and it's moved a little bit and we've had to go in and drill rebar in it and put in new concrete probably 4 or 5 times over the year. The concrete plates are shifting to where we have to go in and grind the bowl all the time. Was it true?
I think as long as we let them know what's going on with it and then we follow through and get it built, we're probably gonna be okay.
I would just think that would add to the excitement of the skate park to have those little differentials in height.
Works really good on the little wheels when they hit them, just launches them. All right, well, that's all I have.
Questions for Brad, council? Thanks, Brad. Jack?
Yeah, council, on the 25th last week, it was Thursday night, we had a PRV valve that failed. We had a little 1/4-inch copper line that broke and it caused a high pressure down in the lower valley here. We had Thursday night, our guys got a call and we had a main that was broke, and then they came down to the main to get started on it. And then we had a few calls on secondary services to homes. And so Casey had the guys go up to look at the PRV because they thought maybe we've got a high pressure problem. And they found that the copper tube on the PRV was broke. And so that was giving us high pressure down here. So they went out and opened up the fire hydrants and fixed the PRV, but there was some things that happened. And So we've got some people that have got some homes that have been flooded and broken pipes. And so we're just telling those people to file a claim with the city and turn them into the insurance company. And we've put together a report and send it to, Chris is going to send that to the insurance company, and then they'll determine whether or not they'll cover those claims. So I just wanted the council to be aware of that if you get any calls or something. Also, I met with Wheeler yesterday, and we talked about the air quality permit for our new generator. That's moving along. They're still not done. I talked to them about possibly ordering the unit. I says, you guys, it's a big company. You guys can order that unit and get it coming so that as soon as we get that permit, we can put it in. Well, he says, let me go back and talk to Steve and up at Wheeler. And so he did. And Steve says, if the council will approve the generator, we'll do it. So I think we'll bring it back to council and talk to you about it, get the approval of the generator, and then we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll know more about the air quality permit. What we're worried about on the air quality permit is they might come back and say, well, we'll allow you to put this unit in, but we want to cut back your run hours. Or they might say, right now our permit says that every 5 years we have to have a test on our air quality on the units. So it costs us about, I think our last time we did that was $17,000. So every 5 years they have to come in and we have to run the engines. They have to make sure that they're burning properly so that we're meeting our air quality permit. And so they might come back and say, you need to do that every 3 years. And so we don't want to change that. We hope not. So that was some of the things that could possibly happen. So that's moving forward. Up on Rachel Drive, we're going to have Sunrock fix the west side of the road. We have those pop outs right in front of the school. And people are coming down Rachel and they're not paying attention and they're running into those. And so we've got Sunrock that gave us a bid for $36,000 to remove those. And there's a waterway. Most of that cost is concrete and also a stormwater box. So it sounds really expensive, but there's a lot of concrete there to be pulled out and then also redone. We talked to the school and Sunrock's going to do it during spring break. So that's good. So that should be straightened out. Also, I met with Rick, and I know Rick talked to Denny, but we've got the shooting park. We talked about that in our retreat for budget this next year. And we need to get moving along on the environmental. So I got a hold of Jill and she said that she could do the walkthrough on that project out to the shooting range for $14,000. And so we've got her on board to move forward on that walkthrough. She's only got a few weeks to be able to do that, or we'll have to wait another year. So we've got the contract, signed it, and we're moving forward. We've also found a bucket truck, a 100-foot bucket truck. It's a used one, but it looks like it's in really good shape through Altech, and they said that they would deliver it here, and it's actually under budget. So we're excited. The guys are really excited about that. So anyway, other than that, just normal maintenance and trying to keep the water and power on.
Questions for Jack?
Was that your last staff report to us?
No, heck no. I'm going to make him do it every week.
There's a lot I could tell you guys, but I'd just bore you with all the stuff that goes on every day. But yeah, the guys are doing awesome. We're doing great work. And so. Really
Mayor, do you know where that request went from changing Benelli Drive to Jack Taylor Avenue?
No.
Is that
No.
gone anywhere?
Right.
Thanks, Jack. Corey, anything?
Yeah, just wanted to update you. Fiscal year 2021, we are at 69 homes. We have one in plan review. The permit for Harmon's Pad C has been ready. It's ready to pick up. R&O is the general contractor. Quinchit.
Is that the SWIG?
That's a Swig Mobetta, yeah. Quinchit, the Giovingo subdivision, lot 1, has started their grading. Their soils report showed that they had clay on site, so they'll be doing a 17-foot over X on the buildable pad, 5 foot outside the pad. Marv with Sunrise is going to go over and make sure that they don't need any earth stabilization going down that deep. The soils report said they could reconsolidate and put it back in there. So
The truck
be
was
s-
in the hole this afternoon when I went home.
who
But
was?
you could only see the top of the truck in the hole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're way down there. I guess I talked to Ryan Forsythe with O'Reilly's, wondering when he was going to build. And he says probably this summer. And I asked him about his soil report, and he said actually his site where he put his building, then 5 feet beyond, that's where it jumps up, you know. So he doesn't have clay on his site, so he won't have to do that over X, but the Giovingo site is got a lot of clay on it, so.
So that's the site closest to
The west,
the west side?
yeah.
How close are they to the existing wall?
To what?
Isn't there existing block wall on the west side?
No.
No, there's a single family lot there, so part of their development will be the
Build.
retaining wall, and they'll have to follow that soils report with the recommendations so that the retaining wall maintains its engineered design. And Marv will be reviewing that, part of the subdivision overall development. PC agenda, the planning commission, because it was spring break, we had to cancel the 11th because we couldn't get a quorum. And we're having a special meeting on the 18th. We have Kyle Hafen's assisted living public hearing coming to planning commission, and also the Sullivan Solis preliminary plat. So those 2 items. And other than that, we're just keep maintaining staff training and trying to keep up with inspections. A lot of building.
Questions for Corey? Thanks, Corey. Brock?
So we did the financials today. We're still working on the budget. Debbie and I are working with that. We'll continue to work with the staff as trying to get their wish list items will be able to fit within the revenue projections. We had the bond closing today on the electric revenue refunding and the new money. So we mentioned this today about approving the generator, which you kind of already did by approving 1.2 million in bonds. You kind of have done it. Otherwise, we can give back the money, I guess, and be done, but kind of done that. But in that closing today, Mark Anderson with Zions Bank told us that this closing that we did, and with the sales tax revenue bond, it's the last ones that Zions Bank is doing at 15-year fixed rate. They no longer will do anything past a 10-year fixed rate. And after that, it's all reset. So he said the timing worked out just perfect because they're not doing that anymore. So we lucked out in getting these 2 bonds refunded and getting those fixed rates on 15 years. So we're continuing with training. Chris is in training on recorders along with Selena, who we brought back recently as the deputy recorder. So she's in her first training there as deputy recorder. So they've been doing that this week. And the only other thing I can think of is League of Cities and Towns mid-year conference, April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, which is really 22nd and 23rd. Wednesday is really a check-in, kind of grab and go snacks. It's kind of really light, but the 22nd, 23rd here in St. George. And they're doing it says either you can join in person or online. So those who would like to attend, just let me know and we'll get you registered. So.
It did say you have to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours, right?
Yeah, are they setting
older.
up a test facility, or everybody's on their own to go get tested?
Haven't heard, you have to have that if you've had
I saw that.
I saw that,
Vaccine?
Yeah.
If you're not vaccinated, you
It's-
gotta have a negative
yeah,
COVID test
it's
within 72 hours.
72 hours.
Oh, really? Okay.
You got a test.
So.
I don't know what that means.
So those who want to and get you registered if you want to.
Yeah.
You can put me down. I'll go for sure.
Okay. The only other thing was like LPC. Monday was the last LPC. Not a lot. Cut a couple of things that they did talk about was House Bill 433, which is the infrastructure funding. I noticed I saw a thing this morning. They cut a bunch off of that, but originally it was $862 million in infrastructure funding, with 621 million of that going to state roads. A big chunk of that, there's a lot going to along I-15 here in the southern Utah for widening into I-15 in different places. So still 101 million going to transit and 140 to outdoor recreation. There was a State Bill 221, which is on short-term rentals. That one was where if it was owner occupied, the home, that you couldn't do anything with the short-term rental. They could run a short-term rental if it was owner occupied, but that died in committee. So there was the other internal ADU, House Bill 213, which made it they said that one probably is not going anywhere with House Bill 82, Representative Ward's accessory dwelling unit bill, that this one they're probably is going to drop off. They won't pursue it because of House Bill 82 going on. So they did.
Billboard one go to a vote yet?
No.
I didn't see that one, no.
Not yet.
One of the other ones we talked about, was House Bill 409. And I don't remember what the bill is, but they talked about on conditional use permits of having in your code or ordinance that standards for conditional use permits must be objective. It goes through and defines development agreements and their appropriate use, and said that you can't require street widths in excess of 32 feet if a municipality requires an LID where the street is located.
Right.
So if they require low impact development, we can't go wider than 31 feet.
I can get you the slides, but that's what how my notes down is. That's what was stated in the notes. The other part of that was the last bit of the note I had is, which I think we've just dealt with the assisted living. It said clarifications to appeal the land use decision. It defines what substantial evidence. It says we'll define what substantial evidence is, which right now, as it says, substantial evidence is really, as the way I've looked at it, is it's very subjective to each person, and it sounds like they're going to give some definition to what substantial evidence is. So, other than that, those are the ones that stuck out. Lena, were you on there for that?
I was just pulling up my slide to see if there was any other highlights on it, but you hit all the highlights.
Rock, on the money for the roads, I see that Arizona is closing the I-15 for
Some
bridge work. That means we're gonna
They're
have,
closing it?
yes, closing it. And so that means we're gonna have traffic flowing through Santa Clara. Is there any chance we can get monies for Pioneer Parkway? Or I know Old 91 coming through town, because it will be a federal highway for a period of time while they're fixing those bridges.
How long?
Didn't say, did it say?
I haven't heard.
An article, but I didn't see.
Yeah, they're also taking out little.
It was
like,
just ADOT, and it was,
Actually, you know what that is and type that in.
Okay, so I read the article too. I just pulled it up. Have you guys heard about Little Jamaica?
Yeah.
So they're taking that out as well at the same time. So it just says access to the Virgin River is being closed in the area of highway bridge reconstruction. I think they're just closing off access to the river in that area, not the road.
Yeah, if they close it without telling us for an extended period of time.
I would imagine there's still an opportunity to seek funding for our roads because anytime there's an accident in the gorge, anytime we get all of that
The
traffic.
problem with it is when you go seek that federal funding, it's like when we tried to do it after the floods in 2005. The additional environmental review and the fees that come along with the cost was more expensive than the city just doing what they did.
I think what I was thinking about is more around Pioneer Parkway where, I mean, we're putting a lot of heavy traffic on a road that's not standard.
But
It's substandard and it needs to have
we
some,
went through that with, after 2005, we had a federal
we did.
grant or something to upgrade that road and the
It was part of
costs-
the emergency
Yeah,
deal, but where they're using that road as a federal highway,
should be able to get some additional maintenance money anyway.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If we can't get some gas tax money or something for maintenance.
When's your MPO meeting?
What does it say there, Jared?
Yeah, they're just shutting down access to the river around that area, clear until 2023, it says.
Call Jack, get a hold of Myron and ask him specifically if he's heard anything about that. If he hasn't, ask him if he would check with what? Well, have him check to see if they are going to be having some closures that are going to be using that. As far as potential maintenance funding, you can ask is Rick, what's Rick's name with UDOT? Is he in your meetings? The UDOT planning coordinator? You know what I'm talking about? Have Myron check with him on that just for some money, or get with Chuck. Chuck likes to burrow into that. He'd probably want to do it too, because they're doing the old 91.
Yeah. I think even wrong. The county.
Yeah, just check and see what you can find out, and maybe if there's some opportunity. You finished, Brock?
Yeah, that's all I have with that.
Council, anything? Okay. We're done. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.